I played City Safari for the first time in a place that had never hosted a Pokémon Go live event before. This city is Hong Kong, a place of iconic skyscrapers and home to 7.4 million people. Here's how it went. On Saturday the 7th, I arrived on time at the Clock Tower in Tsim Sha Tsui. The event booths distributing Pikachu and Eevee sun visors are right here. This was also the area where a few of the Eevee Pokestops for the paid time research were, which is why many people had already been gathering nearby before the start. My plan was to get the freebies early so I could forget about them and move on to finding the Eevee stops. Looking at the campfire map, getting all 7 stops in this general area should be totally doable on foot. Then afterwards, I could focus more on catching wild spawns and exploring the city. According to the promotional materials, there are 6 themed areas. If all went well, I should be able to go to at least 2 of them on the same day. I ended up standing 1 hour in line just for the freebies. Judging by the number of players around, this shouldn't be an issue if the area was slurred up. Except, everything got really chaotic right from the beginning. As you might have already heard, this exact area was struck by an external GPS service issue. Almost everyone around me had their avatars teleported to the other side of the harbour and were stuck in Central. When I checked, even Google Maps was showing the wrong location. So it did look like it wasn't Niantic's fault. However, myself and many others were told by a local member of staff that the GPS issue was already going on since the night before. I have to say, that's kinda messed up. I was getting frustrated because I didn't know if I should just cross the sea physically to match the GPS location, or if I should ditch Kowloon and Hong Kong Island completely for the new territories and the Eevee stops over there. I eventually decided to leave the harbour first and head inlands towards Kowloon Park to see if it would be better. To my surprise, it actually did work. I was lucky that the GPS was locating me correctly when I got to the outskirts of Kowloon Park. I got to spin the Eevee stop here too. It's adorable. This was also where I caught my first and second shiny of the day, a shiny Swablu and a shiny Galarian Zigzagoon. But the fun didn't last long. Here comes the second debate. If I continue walking from here, I could in theory reach 2 more Eevee stops in West Kowloon, but even after spinning those, I would need to find 3 more. I heard issues were happening over there too, so I wasn't sure if it would be more efficient to just go to the new territories. In the end, I decided to give West Kowloon a shot. Lucky for me, things were fine for the most part. I arrived at M+ Art Museum, but the GPS sucked so much, it just stopped locating me once I entered the lift. I had to walk back and forth outside the museum to get it working again, but because the area here looked quite nice and it was already noon, I thought it would be best to stop for some refreshments at the Hong Kong Palace Museum and collect more gifts here. But then it happened again. What in the world? So I got up immediately and headed to the metro station. At this point, a quarter of the event had already gone by. I was behind on catching spawns, shiny checking, hatching eggs, and most importantly spinning stops for the paid time research. The number one thing I wanted from this event was the Eevee wearing an explorer hat with the Hong Kong background. Maybe even a shiny one if I'm lucky. I was scrambling through online discussions about the event to see if more problems were going on in my next destinations. That was when I saw someone point out that all the Eevee tasks have been automatically completed. I have to say, that was a rare but welcome move from Niantic. It literally saved me a ton of time and stress. I was getting annoyed at how I might need to prioritize hunting down those stops over the other event bonuses, so that was truly good news to me. I was finally freed from the Eevee stops. I made the call to go over to Hong Kong Island. I hopped on the next metro and very quickly, within less than 15 minutes, I was already on a tram. Look at this City Safari themed tram. It looks so good. The locals call these trams Ding Ding because of their distinctive bell sound. Also, the Hong Kong tramways has actually been operating since 1904, so that makes this year, 2024, the 120th anniversary. That's very, very impressive. Honestly, I think this is one of the best transportation for playing Pokémon Go in Hong Kong, if not the best, especially for events that are egg or field research heavy. The tramways cover a wide area from Kennedy Town to Shao Kei Wan, so basically from one end of Hong Kong Island to the other end. And it travels at a speed slow enough for spinning Pokestops and racking up distance for eggs. Did I mention it? The fare is super affordable. A one-way ticket cost only $3 Hong Kong for adults and half the price for children under the age of 12. On top of that, you get to see the view of the urban life in Hong Kong Island. It's absolutely worth the ride. I got off the tram at Wan Chai. On the way to the Wan Chai ferry pier, I found one of the featured Pokémon of the City Safari events. Yes, I caught a shiny Skidoo. I know, I'm sorry she's in the middle of the road, but all's good, no Skidoos were harmed. As for the reason I was heading for the pier, it was because I wanted to check my timed research EVs while overlooking the famous Hong Kong skyline from the clock tower. Reports from other players were saying that the GPS issue seemed to have been resolved, so I went ahead and took the ferry. The ferry trip was really nice, especially because when I got on, not a lot of people were on board. It was a much needed break from the densely packed metro and busy streets of the weekends. I love the feeling of the sea breeze and the sound of waves crashing. Arriving at the clock tower again, I found a spot outside the community hub to do my Eevee checks. But never in a million years did I expect this to happen. First check shiny? The crown jewel of City Safari? There's no way, I could not believe it. The number one Pokemon I wanted to get from this event actually shined. This has to be one of the best Pokemon Go events in all my time playing this game. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I know it's a guaranteed catch, but that's so beautiful. As for the others, no luck with the other 7, but that's okay. I still have the day 2 checks and the shiny to take home with me. Speaking of raids, I almost forgot to do raids. I didn't want my Raid Lover add-on to go to waste, so I went over to the nearby Mega Banette raid. Normally, I'm not too big on Mega Raids, I usually just do them when I stumble upon them. But if this is what I get from Mega Raids, I would totally do more. Shiny Banette in the bag, let's go. Around this time, Niantic also announced a 3-hour extension for Saturday ticket holders. But because there weren't many more I wished to catch at that point, I decided to hop on a ferry again. It was so nice I ended up taking 2 more ferry rides and got a total of 5 over the entire weekend. Although I still kept on walking a ton along the shore in between rides, the experience was a lot less anxiety-inducing and chaotic than earlier when the GPS was broken. Eventually, the sun gradually set, and I came back to the spot where I caught my shiny Eevee. The buildings on both sides of Victoria Harbour had lit up. It was totally giving cyberpunk vibes with all the tall skyscrapers, corporation buildings, and massive billboards blasting advertisements of companies. Everything looked dystopian. Lastly, I ended the day somewhere else in Hong Kong with a staple, casual Hong Konger's favourite meal, Tam Jai. Double thumbs up from me, I highly recommend giving it a try. In total, I caught 35 shinies, including a few from the Aspiring Dragons Research Day event. My favourite shiny has got to be the shiny Eevee with the Hong Kong location card. It's the best trophy. The shiny Skidoo was of course great, and also a Hundo Sensu style Oricorio and the shiny Pom Pom style Oricorio. I needed those. Now on to my thoughts about the City Safari experience as a whole. Obviously, I have to talk about the GPS problems. I know this was an external issue Niantic probably had no control over, but if a staff member was aware of this issue happening as early as the night before, how come there was no warning to trainers? A quick 2-sentence heads up on Twitter to let trainers know there might be a risk of disturbed gameplay in that area would probably make things much less confusing for everyone. I don't know the details of what went on in the back end of things. I'm simply expressing my opinion based on what I have experienced and heard firsthand. But I also have to say that the compensation this time, to me at least, was a win. The direct response to the most pressing concern ticket holders had, which was the paid timed research, was good. And then the second response to the lost playtime was fair, speaking from my own experience. I had trouble with the GPS for a little bit more than 2 hours, so 3 extra hours made sense to me. But there's one more thing I'd like to point out. Why did the research day field research take over for the city safari tasks? I only got one city safari task out of the whole 3 hours between 2 to 5 PM. They could have done a 3-hour intermission during this time, like they did when Wooper Community Day overlapped with City Safari in Mexico City. I honestly don't know how they missed it. But that's up to Niantic to figure out and improve. We'll see how they handle situations like this in the future. Other than that, the event spawns were okay. The Oricorials and Skidoo definitely saved the day. The rest were meh. The overall atmosphere was decent in Chimchatre and Central, but once I left the area, it felt quite different. It felt quiet. I have not played any City Safari events before, but I would appreciate more incentives to explore other places on the map. The Eevee stops were not quite enough to convince me to travel far away from where most players are playing. I was hoping to see some official in-game routes or routes in the themed areas as they did in Mexico City, but there weren't any. I think that would be an interesting addition for players to explore. Like City Safari Seoul, I would also love to see more visor distribution booths across the themed areas instead of just a single one in a super busy area. Having some guidance or even discounts on transportation like they did in Sao Paulo and Jakarta could also elevate the experience for players. But these factors might be up to the local authorities' decisions, so I guess it is what it is. I definitely look forward to City Safari events in the future. I think it is a cool concept and I would love to experience another one in person someday. All in all, despite a bumpy start, this experience was a rewarding one. I'll treasure my shiny Eevee. Thank you to Hong Kong for a weekend of fun. Alright, that's the end. Thank you for watching. Take care and stay hydrated.